3, 2, 1. Hey, how's it going? I'm Alice in Wonderland, and a few days ago I made a couple posts on Reddit for Ask Me Anythings. Ask Me Anything is basically when you check a post on a subreddit, you give people a little bit of info, like I'm a 22-year-old trans girl from New Zealand, and you invite them to ask you anything. So I thought it would be good fun to catalogue a couple of my questions and record my responses. Obviously I've already responded to these on Reddit, but thought it might be fun to elaborate on them a little bit. So, without further ado, let's get to it. First up, I didn't know our name was that common. Hello, fellow Alice. Well, I mean, it's a 5-letter word. You know, I'm happy just being meeting another Alice every now and again and just being one of two Alices. Usually the best of the two Alices, but, you know. How are you faring? What's your favorite bird? Oh, you know, I'm doing pretty good these days. What can I say? Hot babe lifestyle. No, I'm kidding. What's my favorite bird? God, New Zealand native birds are awesome, okay? We've got so many of them. We've got katadoos, which are these big, fat, fucking green wood pigeons, and they basically just fly around very clumsily and get perches on knee cow palms and eat seeds and shit. Where my family used to live, we moved away like 10 years ago, but I can still remember this. Where my family used to live, we had this balcony outside and a fence, and just beyond that fence was a massive knee cow palm, and it was the hangout spot for these wood pigeons. I swear they were trading drugs or something, but they would always be there. We have so many great pictures of that little spot with just like 3 kararoos perched right there, about just out of arm's reach from our balcony. Very cool. Tuis are gorgeous. You can recognize them by the little white tuft on their throat, and they have the most beautiful birdsong. It's really, really lovely. And there's actually one out there right now, which is very cool. But I would say my favorite bird's probably a fantail. Very cool. They're like sparrows, kind of. They look a lot like sparrows, except instead of having, you know, a straight end tail, they've got this fan tail, hence the name. And God, they are so cool. They're kind of rare, but out where I live, you know, there's lots of forest tracks, and there's lots of fantails out in the forest tracks. And they're so cool because they like people. Like, they'll follow people because your footsteps are heavy, and they drive up worms and all of that shit. And so fantails will follow you so that they can hunt worms and stuff as you go. And so you can walk like 3 hours on a forest track in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere, and you can just have these 2 or 3 fantail friends that like follow the whole way, and you can like, oh, hello, you're still, and you turn around at the end of the track and you're like, what the fuck is still following me? It's honestly magical. It's so cool. It makes me feel like an elf. Ever think about traveling to Zealand? No. Zealand is full of Dutch people. Next up, how did you learn makeup, if you don't mind me asking? You look like you're absolutely pro at it. Thank you. I mostly watched YouTube tutorials since like none of the women I know IRL wear makeup. I didn't really use tutorials because they just didn't really help me. The honest answer is experience. That's how I learned makeup. As someone who's full-time employed, you know, I wore makeup I still do wear makeup every day. And you just get better and better at it. At the point where, like, this whole makeup look I've got going on, which I think looks fantastic, only took me about 15 minutes this morning. You know, you get better at it. Practice makes perfect. Kiwi and be here. What are you listening to? I've really been jamming Eat the Elephant by A Perfect Circle lately. The melodies are just so good, and Maynard, God, he's got a good voice. How's life going? Do anything fun for the weekend? Life's great. Did I do anything fun for the weekend? I mostly just, like, you know, stayed in bed and cried a little. What do you think is the hardest thing to explain to someone not trans about being trans? Congrats on transitioning. Thank you. The hardest part to me was explaining the fundamentals of it to my male peers, trying to tell them that I didn't want to be a guy like them anymore, you know? That's really hard because you're going against everything you've ever known. You're going against everything they've ever known. And you feel the need to like justify yourself and explain why you're doing all of this and what's changed and everything. And that's really hard. You know, I never, it's very difficult to explain that you've never liked masculinity and would be much happier if you could be pretty rather than tough. For someone like me that was, you know, kind of a tough guy, it takes a certain vulnerability to admit that. Thing is, I'd always wanted to be a girl. It's all I have ever known. Trying to explain that feeling to someone who has never experienced it is hard. You can only imagine what each other have gone through. I'm pretty much your typical cis-het white guy. I feel like a man and definitely don't feel like a woman. So I always assume that's all there is to it. That it's the same, but the genitals just don't happen to match. How far off am I? It's definitely a process more than like black and white feeling one way or the other. Thing is, like, I felt like a guy. I did. But I was never happy about it. And I just didn't know there was another option. From when I was like 15 or 16, I would have pressed the button. And every trans girl knows what the button is. It's the button where you press it and you become a girl. It's just, it took me until I was 21 to realize that button was transitioning. I just kind of assumed everyone was like that, you felt like a guy, but you wanted to be a girl. At a certain point, I became more aware of it, and it stuck in my head. I felt like I'd die if I couldn't be a girl. I could almost liken the feeling to like desperately pining for someone or something. I didn't actually feel like a girl until I'd come to terms with that and started transitioning. I think feeling like a woman is a goal of transitioning more than anything else. When you start transitioning, you don't feel like a woman trapped in a guy's body. You feel like a guy that wants to be a girl. And your goal in transition is to feel like a woman, finally. To me, being transgender is longing to be your preferred gender rather than inherently feeling like you are or always have been that gender. Other people might think differently, but that's my perspective. I hope it makes sense. How's life in New Zealand? Life is great. We don't have any manlet, racist Republicans all vying to suck capitalist cock to objectively make the world a worse place. I mean, like, we've got our own problems in New Zealand, but like, it's pretty sorted, I'm just joking. I don't absolutely hate America. There's some good things that have come from America, like Timothy Chalamet. Is he American? New Zealand's good. Being trans in New Zealand is very good. Trans healthcare is subsidized in New Zealand, and it's quite easy to get hold of. Basically, the process for me was I went in, got a consultation. When I decided I wanted to be trans, they took my bloods, and 3 months after that, after a counseling session just to make sure I was mentally okay, I started hormones like 3 months after that, and that's it. I mean, the hormones are government subsidized, so it cost me like $15 every 3 months, so it's pretty cheap. Easy, super easy. Being trans in New Zealand is like probably about as good as it gets, to be honest. Anyway, summer's just around the corner, so it's gonna be swimsuit and bikini time. So things are looking good for the next few months. Hey girl, I'm a recently cracked egg from Arizona in the States. Congratulations! Any books or movies you'd recommend? Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Nope. I'm very hesitant to continue now. Okay, any books or movies you'd recommend? I don't really watch movies. I don't know if that's weird. But books. I just recently read the original War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, and that shit slaps. You should read that, it's fucking cool. As a Kiwi trans girl, what are your thoughts on 1. Kiwis the bird, 2. Kiwis the tangy green tropical fruit? Okay. The fruit. Repeat after me. Kiwi equals a New Zealand person from New Zealand. Kiwi fruit is the fruit. In New Zealand, we call it kiwi fruit. Kiwis are friends, not food, okay? Don't eat kiwis, it's dangerous. No, but kiwis are cool. Weird looking birds, wacky, totally strange. And a evolutionary oddity, I suppose. Can't fly, fat as fuck. Sounds like my Uncle Jeffrey. Yeah, he wasn't very good at flying. He couldn't land. That's an awful joke. Oh my god. No, but kiwis are very interesting. They're very endangered, very rare. It's near impossible to actually like see one. They have them in Auckland Zoo, but even then it's difficult because they're nocturnal creatures. They like the darkness a lot. And so you go to these enclosures and it's so dark you can't actually see them anyway. Or at least not the last time I was there, but you know, that was before I got glasses. So maybe I was just blind. Oh god, and have you seen a kiwi egg? That shit is nuts. Like I saw an x-ray recently of like the kiwi body with like the egg in it, and like the kiwi body is like this big and then the egg is massive. Part of me thinks that's actually how kiwis are, like kiwis as in New Zealanders are born. We don't come from our mothers, we just massive kiwi eggs. Why else would they be that big? Oh yeah, and kiwi fruit are great. They make my mouth feel fuzzy though. Do you find dating difficult? And what qualities do you look for in a partner? It's easy to get hookups if that's what you want. There's fucking lots of people that have fetishes for trans girls. It feels a little bit weird being on the receiving end of that, just, you know, being a fetish, but hey, who am I to judge? It's a lot harder to get someone that's interested in a long-term relationship. For whatever reason, it's difficult to get that as a trans person. Thankfully, I'm not at the stage where I want a relationship, so it's not tearing me up at the moment. But what do I look for in a partner? Same as any other woman, I suppose. Confidence, humor, style are all very attractive. Bonus points if they know how to do rope work, and bonus points if they're... I went on holiday to New Zealand 2 months ago. Had a fantastic time. I'm not surprised, New Zealand is quite a good holiday destination. Was amazed by how much people shit talk Auckland, even the people within Auckland. What can I say? Auckland is a shithole. I should know, I live there. No, I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. I don't know where you heard this, because Auckland's a great place, everyone loves Auckland. The only problem really is housing prices. Terrible. My annual income is like a 20th the price of a house. It's insane. Otherwise, you know, there's lots of nice stuff in Auckland. You've got fucking volcanoes, you've got loads of parks. Okay, maybe not a good thing, but you've got K Road. City centre, it's the place to be, really. Everything's in the city. It's one of the biggest cities in the world. There's like so much land around it, and it encompasses like so much. All the way up north and then all the way out west to the Waitakere Ranges. Don't go to Henderson though.